Folks are still coming in. There's lots of seats in the middle as well as to the sides on this side as well. So my name is Sam. I've actually been in the identity team for just a little over 20 years now. And I joined with Microsoft Active Directory. It was called the Distributed Systems team at that point in time. We built the first Active Directory in Windows 2000. For a while, I've been driving a lot. I've had different roles. Right now, my primary role is I have one foot on premises, which is I run program management for Active Directory, Federation Services, which we will talk about today, as well as in the cloud, which is anything relating to devices, Azure-Ready Domain Services, and a few other services. I am pretty active on Twitter, typically tend to answer questions out there, so feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, either if you have a question on a topic today, or we also will be out here after this session to answer any questions. It's typically hard to take questions during the session from these mics in a really large session. If you have a burning question, come to these two front mics so that I can see you, and I'll kind of find a good spot to take the question, get an answer. If there's more than one person, or if there's a person already out there, wait for the next opportunity, because it's kind of hard to take a whole bunch of questions during the session. Now, before we get started, this session is a lot focused on new functionality in ADFS 2019, but we will also touch upon, because our broader story is security, so we will touch upon a few things that we deliver as part of Azure AD as well. Some of this will be repetitive, but some of you may have not seen it, and usually for the ones that I'm repeating, I'm going to go through it quickly and spend more time talking about ADFS 2019. So let's get started. A bunch of customers this week asked me, hey, what's the story about ADFS? Where is it going? And some of them were not connected to Azure AD yet. Some of them were connected to Azure AD. So the first thing to kind of talk about is how do we think about ADFS? Now, today, ADFS is the #1 authentication provider for Azure Active Directory. It handles nearly about 72 million monthly active users, and likely it'll probably go up a little bit because it's just the start of school season again, and we usually see a drop during summer. And that's one key reason. So 72 million users. Now, our goal is to continue to make sure that we provide the right level of security capabilities for these people to log in securely into Office 365. Within Azure AD, we have three options. We have a password hash sync option, a pass-through authentication option, and we also support federation with ADFS. Now, in some cases, ADFS, there's unique capabilities in ADFS that you may look for. So the general expectation is that if you're new, you don't have ADFS, evaluate the options, make sure you're doing the right thing for your organization. Now, the second reason why we think about ADFS is that we still have a lot of customers out there who have not onboarded to Azure AD. So these are the customers. What we typically see is that a lot more in the health, financial, government spaces, we see customers still kind of working through how they think about their cloud security policies, what type of mechanisms are allowed for their applications. Now, this is changing pretty rapidly based on what we see from our customers. But at the same point in time, we do have tons and tons. In fact, we have thousands of customers who already use ADFS who are not on Azure AD yet. So that we are continuing to kind of ensure that we're doing the right thing for these customers. The third reason is that we are seeing a shift in how people are thinking about delivering application experiences to their end users and employees. And this comes back to very much driven towards a mobile-driven experience where people want newer forms of applications that really think about RESTful interfaces that require some of our modern authentication protocols. And based on some of the feedback that we're getting from 2016, modern auth app development on ADFS 2016 is a key reason why people use that to kind of shift their next-gen app experiences for their end users as well. So these are kind of key ways in which how people think about, we think about our investment strategies towards ADFS, and so we expect to continue to invest in that and for a period of time for sure. Now, before I get into the features, how did we think about investing in ADFS 2019? All right, there are 4 vectors with which we were looking at what features to prioritize, because I thought I'd give you a perspective of that as well. The first priority was always security. It's security. That is our #1 priority in making sure that we provide the best set of secure login options for end users. And I'll talk about a bunch of these capabilities in a short bit. The second area that we really thought about was associated with what do we need to think about for that next generation of applications. And there were a set of capabilities that customers were missing, so we decided to add a few more capabilities in there. The third area that we looked at was as customers deploy ADFS, there are things in terms of how do you think about ensuring that you manage the set of issues that you see. So for us, when we think about it internally, it's about supportability. So how are we approaching that? And some of those capabilities we are doing inside the product, some capabilities outside the product as well. But we have to think about this holistically. And the fourth is really thinking about what our customers have been telling us and giving us feedback from 2016, and that drove our investment philosophy. Now, we're first going to start talking about passwordless authentication. Now, for some of those of you who attended my session last year, all right, and this is the slide from last year, and in ADFS 2016, we spent a lot of investment really thinking about passwordless options. This is 2016, not 2019, all right? Now, the reason why. The number of password-based attacks has increased tremendously in the last 18 months. And we see attackers get more sophisticated, and where we even see change patterns where certain things that we did in the cloud to kind of block, in about 4 hours, the pattern has changed, all right, in terms of our security analytics. And some of these are complicated attacks as well. So while we continue to do things to kind of ensure that we can protect your logins with passwords, all right, the right strategy for you and your customers is for you to get off passwords. We talked about, I think earlier this week, Alex, my boss, talked about some of the options that we did in the cloud with phone-based sign-in. All right. We talked about FIDO support as well, coming up from our cloud-based authentication efforts that we are doing. Now, in ADFS, one of the key things that we did, just to recap the options, is that we support Hello for Business, all right, so that you can log into extranet from just using your Windows domain join machine, using your Hello for Business credentials seamlessly. Second, we added support, or we have support for, is certificate authentication, so that especially on managed devices, on mobile managed devices, there are ways in which you can kind of sign in more securely without passwords with a certificate. And then the third that we added as an option was we added a built-in adapter for our own cloud-based MFA service, which is Azure MFA, so that that becomes the first factor using an OTP, so that you have to successfully complete an OTP before you enter in your password. That's worked great. We have a whole bunch of customers who've already deployed using Azure MFA and OTP. But we've had some customers come back and said, hey, I've invested in a third-party multi-factor solution, whether it was RSA or Gemalto or HID. So there's a bunch of these authentication providers that have already integrated with ADFS, or an enterprise uses today as part of their licensing agreement. People are registered, and the feedback was clear from our customers that, hey, please help us because we've already done this with our existing providers. Could you provide us a way for us to go more passwordless with these? And this is essentially what we've done today in ADFS 2019. Now, when we started designing this, we said, hey, we already support a whole bunch of authentication, third-party authentication providers today who built to ADFS all the way from 2012 R2. Ideally, we should be able to use all of those inbuilt so that without any changes to the system, so that they can become the first factor of login versus the second. Now, this is a lot of internal code for us. We had to change things a bit. But at the end of the day, this is what we have, which is we now support the ability for any of the existing authentication providers that support on an ADFS. And there's a bunch of them. People have built custom providers, as well as a whole bunch of vendors have deployed YubiKey Duo, RSA, Swisscom. There's a Gemalto, SafeNet, HID, there's a bunch of them out there. And that now works as it being the first factor of login that you provide. Now, the second thing that we've added is that when we looked at a bunch of these providers, we saw that there are providers that provide one-shot, two-strong authentication, which means there's involvement of two factors within that transaction. So we said, okay, for the adapters or providers that already support that, they have to make a minor modification to really provide a strong authentication mechanism. So we went in and we've also added that capability. And then the third key capability is that in ADFS 2016, to use password as a second factor, you had to download our GitHub repository. I've had a whole bunch of customer conversations that said, oh, can you support that for me? Because our repository, its support is as is. So what we've taken is that we've now enabled password authentication as the second factor of login in ADFS that you can control when you need strong authentication capabilities. So let's go straight to a demo highlighting this. Let me make sure I'm logged into my machine and it's awake. So I'll talk about this later. This is our, oh my goodness, it helps my demos a lot for sure. This is adfshelp.microsoft.com, where we have a bunch of online tools as well as offline tools for you to kind of work with in ADFS. There are troubleshooting guides, so kind of make sure that you bookmark this. I'm going to talk about it a little later as a new capability in it as well. All right. So this is a claims X-ray tool, which can attempt a transaction, and it's simple. It spits out the claims. It's pretty useful to kind of debugging this. And as you can see from the policy, I'm asking for multi-factor authentication. You can see that being described here. And I'm also asking for fresh authentication so that I can keep demoing this again and again. So I kick that off. The request is gone. Now, one of the things that you will notice out here is that there's a new sign-in experience, all right? And what we attempt to do is to provide the best hybrid experience, especially with Azure AD, all right? We've been evolving the sign-in experience based on newer design philosophies and standards. There are two kind of key things that will stand out here. One is that it is a fully centered design in terms of the theming experience. And we've also moved to a paginated design specifically for the feature that I'm going to be demoing right now. Your existing customizations will still continue to work, and this is fully customizable, but I thought I'd kind of do a quick chat on that. So let me attempt to log in. Now, before I do this, I want to first say is that as my first part of the demo, I'm using Azure MFA Server as the mechanism, which from an on-premises standpoint, it can support a phone-based sign-in using our Authenticator app, and it uses PIN mode as a way to have two factors in one shot, and that PIN is protected by biometrics on my iOS device. So I'm going to start there. And for all intents and purposes, this is a third-party system to ADFS, even though it's from us. So and now I automatically got in a push notification to my device, which I have to approve. And that's it. I am signed in. So think of this as a very similar experience to what you saw up in the cloud earlier, but now you can kind of perform this in a bunch of use cases where you are not using Azure AD as well. Now, a couple of things that I want to highlight as part of that. Now, our phone app authentication mechanism is a secure notification channel to a trusted device, so which means it's about possession of the device. Second is that because it's being configured with PIN or it's being it's being locked down to PIN, and which is kind of using either I'm using a PIN on my biometrics to unlock that PIN, or that PIN on a device that does not support biometrics. It is another alternate factor from what you have. It's something that you know or something that you are. So this is two factors in one shot. So as a result, it is a strong authentication scheme, and the system generates that, saying that it is multi-factor authentication, which then can be used to drive behaviors within downstream applications as well. All right, what happened to my screen? It's showing here. I seem to have lost my... okay. So now, let me go back. Looks like I was... So you can see out here these claims that show that it was multiple authentication within the system. Now, this is all great, but as I mentioned, we can support it with other third-party providers as well. And thanks to our friends at RSA, they gave us a subscription, and we also plumbed in an RSA system into our same demo environment, which is essentially the same provider and adapter for ADFS that exists today, with no additional changes. Now, prior to doing that, I am going to change my policy for authentication. So instead of only having Azure MFA server for extranet, I'm going to have RSA. And I don't need MFA server here. Okay. So now that configuration is complete. Check that. That looks good. So then I'm going to attempt the same login again. So let's do test authentication. I'm going to type in my user ID again. Now, as you can see, this is shifted to using RSA. And RSA has a few options. And just to show the experience on my phone, so I can see the notification. And in this case, I'm actually using biometric. But just to show you that the way I've configured the system is to treat this as a single factor. And because I asked in the request for a multi-factor authentication, now ADFS is saying, okay, you've completed RSA. Now you need to do another factor, and I've configured, as I mentioned before, password as my second factor. So I type in my password. Oops, sorry, looks like I did not shift my screen. So I typed in my password, all right, even though you didn't see it, and I'm logged in. And the key thing to kind of highlight is that you can see in what was done, RSA was protected using an OTP. It's a TOTP scheme to doing that. That's logged in. It also, ADFS is logging that I've done a password authentication. And because I've done two distinct factors from an ADFS perspective, it is now considered as a strong authentication, which is multi-factor in this case, which is present there. So that concludes my demo. Let's go back to the slides. So as you can see, we now can support in 2019 the ability and make it easier. So irrespective if you have an existing third-party system for multi-factor authentication, you can put that as either the only strong authentication solution, especially focused on extranet, or you can treat that as the first factor and then use the password as a second factor. This will increase your security up by a huge deal based on what we see from the password-based attacks. Moving on, I think this is an area that you've probably seen before. Anand talked about it a little earlier this morning as well. I keep on harping that password-based attacks are huge. Now, there are a few types of attacks in here. While this number is great, there are 3 types of attacks that we've seen. And from an ADFS perspective, we already have a set of capabilities in there. The first one that we did was, which is an extranet lockout. It's a soft lockout on ADFS that used the AD password, bad password counter as a way to do that. But immediately what we saw is that based on the attack patterns, the attacker was going after like execs and certain unique accounts with different types of passwords. And at that point in time, the lockout would get triggered, and which means someone who's really trying to get access to their email, the right person, couldn't get in. And this is why we introduced as a backport or a QFE in 2016, we added the next one, which is our extranet smart lockout, which Anand demoed earlier today. But at the end of the day is that think about it as not only do we think about the number of failed attempts, but we've also managed familiar locations, which means if I've successfully logged in from an IP address, even if another unknown IP address is hammering with bad password requests, because I'm coming from a familiar location, which is a known IP address where I've seen a successful login for myself, ADFS will let that request go through so that it can be validated against Active Directory. So that's the second capability that we added. The third that we added was that there are 2 reasons why we added that. One was that we've seen the attack come through Exchange Online, be proxied from Exchange Online to ADFS. So as a result, you can't just block a bad IP address directly at the network. The other thing that we've seen is that when an attack happens, the communication between a directory admin to a network admin to do that sometimes also takes time. So as a result, we put in a banned IP feature directly in ADFS so that you can just type in the IP address in there, and that is good enough for you to block it. Now, what we've done in the cloud, now this doesn't address another style of attack, all right? The other style of attack is that you have a large list of user addresses, and you are trying just 2 or 3 passwords well under a threshold. Now, what we've known from our intelligence is that people use commonly guessable passwords. Even though you may have complexity there, you will have guessable passwords that allow an attacker to make 2 or 3 guesses, and that would be good enough, all right, for them to kind of count. With sufficient number of accounts, then they are guaranteed to kind of get through at least with a few accounts. Now, usually, once you get in, there are lateral attacks. There are well-known kind of ways in which you can do lateral attacks, and some level of social engineering that even gets you into some form of an elevated account. Right? So more and more, we're trying to kind of prevent some of the entry points. And this is where Azure Intelligence makes a huge difference. We see these attacks coming all the time across from the globe. And we've got intelligence as to what the hackers are trying to do, or what's common and is easily guessable based on our intelligence. And that's what kind of provides us. Now, typically, that intelligence was used in the cloud-only accounts, but not for hybrid accounts, which about 75% of our active user base is, that they come from Active Directory. So our goal was to provide a capability that works on users in Active Directory, and which is what Azure AD password protection for Windows Server Active Directory is. We use our cloud intelligence, and then we kind of push those onto an agent that runs on your domain controller that now can validate and say, hey, does this password that's happening as part of a change or reset process or reset task match what our global intelligence says as potential ways in which attackers could exploit. So and if so, we will block it. But another key customer requirement that came up was that a lot of times attackers know you're part of an organization. Usually the name of the organization or a brand that is common to the organization, or something associated with the region or the location of the organization typically tends to also impact easy guessable passwords. So for example, if we had Ford as an organization that wanted to kind of block common passwords, Mustang, which is a brand of Ford vehicles, essentially would be something that you want to kind of block. So this is also something that we've added, which is saying you as a customer can go configure it up in the cloud, and then automatically any password changes will be changed. The one thing that I would probably point out to you is that we've had to do this with backport compatibility in mind. And so we can't necessarily change all the error messages that Windows has to do that. Now, to counter that, by the way, it's interesting because we've been working with some of our private preview customers, and it's been quite interesting that usually what the pattern that we've seen is that an end user tries it a couple of times, and usually by that point in time they know, okay, this is not a good password for me to do, so let me try a different, totally different one, and they don't even call help desk. But at the same point in time, if you want better messaging and controls, we recommend you to use the self-service password reset portal in Azure AD to go change these passwords. So yes, you can do it using Control-Alt-Delete, but we think that the end user experience is better. Now, I'm going to really be quick on the demo out here. So let me show. So this is the configuration page. The main thing for you to know about is that you can go and add in some of these custom passwords, all right? Now, I'm a big believer of the Jags this year, so I'm a big Jags fan. NFC is always going to be Seahawks for me, but AFC, okay, I'm going to support the Jags out there. So I've also added, and so I'm likely to kind of put something around a Jaguars thing within my password. Or I'm going to do Seahawks. Let's do that. This is my valid password, and then so to show you, now this typically follows a lot of the complexity rules. I have uppercase, I have lowercase, I've got a number, I've got a special character. Wow, that's a strong complex password, all right? But guessable, very, and this is what even some of the attackers use machine learning to kind of think about some of these things. So it's guessable. Nope, not allowed to go change. So this is actually being impacted by a password filter agent that's running on the domain controller that has a cached copy, and it pulls this from a proxy agent from the cloud, and it has a cached copy of that so that it's locally making sure it enforces both our global set of bland passwords or whatever you as a customer have configured as a per tenant password. Now, I can show you there's a bunch of admin event logs that will show you that this is happening, and it's been kind of really an interesting journey even through our public preview process as we been doing this. Moving back to our presentation. So that's about passwords. Now, one of the things that we also realized with ADFS is that it's very hard for us to keep making updates and using the Windows Server process. Especially in this area, we thought that as part of intelligence, we want to have the intelligence from outside be able to help us determine whether I should allow a request through or not request through. And then we thought, okay, what's the right way to go build it? So as part of this, I'm going to skip that slide. I want to introduce what's called as the ADFS Pluggable Risk Assessment Module, all right, or RAM, and that terminology is pretty common, all right. What this gives you is a pluggable framework within ADFS that is supported, in which you can block requests, you can use this to potentially prompt for multi-factor authentication, but all based on intelligence that you get from outside. Now, secretly, one of the reasons why we also want to do this is because our own cloud intelligence has a lot of information that can help impact this. We call this identity protection that gives a way to think about user risk and scores, all right? So at a future date, we also want to think about how to integrate that. Now, how does that work? Now, typically, now, the first part of a request is that it's just a HTTP request. We don't know, we may or may not know who the user is at this point in time. Typically, there are certain network aspects that we do, or whether it's a malformed request or not. Now, so this is about looking at an HTTP context. Now, this is a great place where you know if it is coming from a malicious IP, you should be blocking it right out here. So that's one area for us when we think about this type of a pluggable framework. And the next step is that we've collected the credential about the user, so which means we know that there is a user ID, we know that there is a potential secret involved, and that's the next step. Before we truly validate all of those, do we want to do something? Here we have some additional information because we probably know the user ID. And finally, the last phase is really about, do I issue a token to you at the end of the day, based on this user and this session? So is the next kind of phase of how ADFS handles that. Now today, our extranet lockout mechanism already uses this pluggable framework. We kind of started this as part of our extranet smart lockout mechanism, but we didn't expose it in 2019 as a public interface. And it is using that. And we're already collecting ADFS audit logs as part of Connect Health for ADFS, so that we are enhancing some of our intelligence from the end result of whether we let you in or not. From a module perspective, it's broken down into 3 callouts. The first callout is essentially a request received module. You get a notification with HTTP context. Now, typically, what you do is to use this for determining whether this IP address is something that you want to allow or not. Or there could be other elements of the HTTP context that you want to allow or not. The second and third are essentially where especially this is very valid for password-based logins, do you want to go and attempt and validate this with your on-premises AD? So that becomes one place that you go do this. And finally, a post-authentication phase. The interesting thing about the post-authentication phase is it gives the developer of that module or the intelligence a way to convey information back to ADFS as claims. So there is a standard user risk score. You can go upgrade into that. Now, the reason why we did it that way is that ADFS uses claims to determine whether I need to prompt for multi-factor authentication or I want to block a request as part of issuance authorization rules. Now, this module can now influence for that transaction, do we want to up-level the authentication and require an additional factor, or do we want to just block this request totally based on that risk level? There are lots of interesting use cases to be able to go do that. And that, now as I mentioned, future, we want to integrate that with our Azure Identity Protection and use our scoring system up in the cloud to be able to influence this. Now let's do a quick demo of this. All right. Now, I'm on the ADFS box. I've already implemented a really dumb version of this module. And now, this is a simple one that we said is that it's going to be based on what IP addresses. Now, let me go back and, oops, I forgot this. I need to finish an authentication. I'll probably do my authentication again because I want to get the IP address from where we are at. Okay. Same policies, so, oops, wrong password. Okay, so let's pick the IP address, which ADFS knew about where I'm coming from. Let's take that IP address, and let me go add it to here, all right? Now let's try the same authentication that just succeeded, all right? And let's see what happens. Oops, no, hang on. There you go. So I updated this IP address to ADFS saying that, and through this pluggable framework, which is picking it up from the file that I just provided, and code that just kind of did this as part of block, I issued a block request from our pluggable framework back into the ADFS system that says, please don't respond to this request. We didn't even do any validation. This we know is a true malicious IP, so I've just kind of made sure that I blocked that. So that's the power that we kind of enable so that external analytics and intelligence systems can now influence from a security perspective what do we allow and what don't we allow. Now we have some customers who have their own internal analytics system, but more and more we think customers using our own cloud as a way to enable this as mechanisms for you to stop is what we will be continuing to kind of work on. Now let me go make sure that I remove this because I have subsequent demos which will not be allowed otherwise. All right, let's close that, and let's make sure that that is okay. Okay, so we're back online. Okay, so let's get back to our presentation. So that's the risk assessment module that gives us the ability to kind of move forward, and we don't need to update ADFS, but we can deliver things from outside of ADFS to make sure that we can increase the security there. We saw the demo. Now there's a few additional security-related areas that we did. We already talked about extranet smart lockout. We made one enhancement, wherein in the 2016, when you're in audit mode, which is the mode that we recommend you to do so that ADFS can learn about what your familiar locations are for successful sign-ins, all right? At that point in time, customers who were already protecting themselves with the older extranet lockout mechanism could not necessarily keep that protection in place. Now we kind of converged in so that you can build an audit plus, making sure that it combines with our existing extranet lockout mode. The another case that we saw with customers is that in multi-node clusters of applications that use password-based logins for their service accounts, there are cases in which for the password expiry case, even though it updated, one of the nodes was updated, the other nodes was not updated, it would fail, causing a cluster in terms of, because it increased the number of accounts, attempts. And one of the things that we realized as part of doing this is that to have a separate threshold for familiar locations so that you can create a really high threshold of fail logins for familiar locations, which means your internal IP address for some of these, and kind of set that up. Banned IP list, I already talked about it. It's part of our QFE to 2016, but I did want to kind of present it, making sure that you're aware of that. Now, one new thing that we've added is a bunch of HTTP header customization. The reason why we've added is that typically what happens is that there will be third-party partners who will run pen test tools. And these pen test tools don't understand the workload. So they run some of these standard things around web applications, whereas ADFS is an authentication service, it's kind of different. Now there's one test called HSTS, which is really about making sure that clients can honor the ability for you not to be able to do a downgrade attack from HTTPS to HTTP. Now ADFS doesn't do any authentication on any HTTP points. It's always HTTPS. So it really doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I got sick and tired of actually having to kind of respond every time, even though we had documentation on that. And so we just added the ability for you to customize and for ADFS to send HSTS on the headers in the response. Another common thing that we've seen from customers is that ADFS typically doesn't allow iframes to be able to kind of offer its login pages. It allows it only when there is non-interactive authentication. But interestingly, we've seen on some financial and health vertical cases where people, especially in the health vertical, where people want certain types of experiences to do quick login experiences for doctors and nurses. And there were some very valid cases where ADFS needed to be hosted on iframes. Now, we've added that support so that you can lock down those iframe support only to when the request comes from a host name that you trust. And that's something that we've added within the system for you to be able to go do that. And we've also added, in the same vein of not sure what the next header is, so we've added the ability for you to inject headers as part of responses to ADFS that gives you more flexibility and control if there's something new that kind of pops up as well. And we've already talked about it a few times. It was an Anand session. We actually also have the Azure-AD Connect Health Risky IP report. I'll actually touch upon it a little later in my slides as we continue. Now, the next area, like I mentioned earlier, is all about building apps, the next generation of modern applications that you want to offer up to your employees. Now, we invested heavily in ADFS 2016 to add OpenID Connect and OAuth related support that mirrors a lot with our AD. Now, from a strategic standpoint, for us, the perspective that we have is that you may not be ready for a public cloud, or you may never be ready for a public cloud. Not sure in terms of where governments might be in for high sensitive areas. But if you have to go build it in our stack in a common programming model, which is based on the same standards that we think about, standards that we use in the cloud. And within that, like, we did a whole bunch of things in our 2016 where we made some improvements in SAML, we made huge improvements in OIDC, we've added a lot of stuff for OpenID Connect and OAuth, and we also added token binding support, which a lot of you may not understand, which is really to prevent the ability for you to take cookies and replay it from another system, pretty much. All right, and that is inbuilt in Windows 10. So anytime a Windows 10 machine that adopts the RFC standard for token binding, which Windows 10 does for Edge, it ensures that when you are logging into ADFS and ADFS has SSO cookies, you cannot steal those cookies and play it from another device at all, because it has a binding channel that is specific to what the client can prove. Now, additional enhancements that we've did. The first one is related to, actually we did this for our Microsoft Azure Stack team, because for those of you who don't know, the Microsoft Azure Stack is a private data center view of Azure, and it all comes in two profiles. One is a connected profile where you can use Azure AD, or you are in a totally private data center, which we have quite a few customers who do that. And behind the scenes, the thing that runs it in this consistent way, think of Azure as an application. It uses Azure AD for logging in and uses our backup in the cloud. Think of Azure Stack in a disconnected state. Behind the scenes, it uses AD and ADFS as the way it kind of drives that, which is more of a local kind of private data center view. But it is all transparent to the application because of how we think about the protocols for authentication, since ADFS supports the same things that Azure AD does. Now, one use case there is about thinking about Azure CLI environments. And Azure CLI is like a headless session that you're enabling. You don't have a rich browser-based login experience to log in. And so as a result, how do you run a login that is secure for you to be able to go do in a form where the client does not have a big form factor or cannot provide a browser-based experience. Now, you can also think about think of this as a classic Netflix-style login, all right? The form factor may not make it easy for you to input things. Today, imagine having to go to a printer and then putting your domain name, username, password in there. Oh my God, that is painful. So this is the modern experience with these protocols to improve that. And there's a profile in OAuth called Device Auth Profile that enables you to kind of go do this such that the app doesn't need to do much other than polling and asking the authentication service, hey, has the login completed? It initiates a request and then just polls. And I'll do a demo of this after I talk about this slide. The second area was more about a customer request. Typically, in the first rev of the OAuth specs, there was no provision for what's called the resource parameter that identifies the target resource. But we needed something in ADFS to define that in Azure AD as well, and we use this. And it was considered not compliant. And so third-party libraries interacting with the system couldn't kind of work very easily because they need to kind of go send this additional parameter that didn't make sense. So as a result, we've kind of gone back and said, okay, we will also support where you don't need to support resource, the target application as the resource parameter, and it can just be used using scopes, which is how. Now, strangely, there's a new draft which says, okay, let's make resource parameter part of the spec as well. But at the end of the day, this works with third-party systems in a little more app-compat kind of manner. The third item is really about a security feature, which is, for those of you who understand this, there's a flow called auth code grant flow in OAuth. And the mechanism is that the client attempts to log in using a browser, but the completion of that just gives a code. And then the client then uses the code to go back to a different endpoint called a token endpoint. The first request was an authorization endpoint. And then the second request is take the code and go back. Now, there was based on what patterns that we've seen in iOS and Android, there was a potential way to hijack that code, all right? And there's a few machinations you have to go through, but there's a potential way to hijack that code and then steal that code, ship it out, complete the transaction, and then steal the token. All right? So there's a way potentially to do that. Pixie is really kind of giving us a proof of possession between the two parts of that transaction. One that starts in the authorization and moves to the token endpoint. It gives us able to bind it. Think about it as client-side binding to make sure that you can't steal the code and kind of play it from a different client. So that's the third one. The fourth one is something that we've had complaints, which is really about core support. CORS is really about the browser's kind of view of making sure and that you don't do cross-origin scripts or cross-origin calls, resource calls. And so in the case of you building a single-page application, you typically use what's called the implicit flow profile. And a lot of it is done by JavaScript at the end of the day. And most third-party libraries have a way they do client signature validation, the token validation on the client side. And to do that, they need to go pick to see, okay, from the authority, which is ADFS, what is the token signing certificate? So that it can get the cert, so that the public portion of the cert, so that it can validate if the token was signed. Now, that would fail in an implicit flow profile app because ADFS did not support CORS. Now we've added support for that, and we've added a few more customization on that. Now, I'm going to quickly kind of go to the demo for the device auth profile, just to show you how easy it is. So we just have a PowerShell script simulating this application out here. So now what's happened is that back to the application, we've already initiated the request. And the application then gets back a few things for you to say, where do you need to complete the authentication? Now, in this case, there's a URL, and you have a unique per transaction code that is available. I forget what the time limit was for. I think it's valid for 15 minutes for you to kind of complete the authentication. Now, you can also see that the application is polling and asking ADFS back, hey, is the authentication done? It's like an are we there yet type of a loop at that point in time. Now, let's go back to our system, and then I already have the URL done. Let me copy the code. So this is where ADFS has a page to handle and take this code. I supply the code. And ADFS automatically knows, that which is the application that it generated that code for. Did you want to kind of complete the sign-in? And because I just signed in with my previous demos, I get single sign-on capability, and I'm kind of seamlessly signed in. And if I go back to the application, as you can see, the transaction is completed. And now I have a token, and that's pretty much. So again, think about it as saying this is really relevant. What we're seeing customers, essentially, if you are building, let's say, apps on a factory floor, all right, where you need to go log in into a console that is still internet connected as part of doing that. You may not have the right types of ways for you to kind of log in kind of seamlessly, where a phone-based login that I just showed may actually work really well. You don't want to type those types of credentials into these types of small form factors. So this is a good example of where we might see. And the other thing is that I'm not sure how many of you have seen this, but there's a bunch of hacky scripts to log in into Amazon CLI, AWS CLI as well, that uses ADFS screen scraping as a way to kind of find a way to go log in. And one of my things was, please, let's get away from that. And this is one of the reasons also that we kind of go do this. And at some point in time, hopefully Amazon will support that natively, or there'll be a third-party system that can go do this, because that is a really non-secure way for you to kind of do a login into AWS CLI. Now let's go back to our presentation. As a few additional things that we've done, as I mentioned earlier, is that we kind of keep updating our sign-in experiences, because as I meant, like, there's a whole bunch of people logging into Azure AD with ADFS. Kind of having, and that's one of our top use cases, having a seamless experience is something that we want to do. A lot of customers have complained about the Azure AD page looks one way, then their IDP page looks another way. It feels like it's a phishing attack sometimes. You know, there's a little bit of user confusion associated with that as well. So our goal was to kind of making sure that with every version that we update to what we think is our current set of standards, because these things keep evolving as design guidance kind of keeps evolving as well, as we learn more from our end users. But the three tenets that, that you should bear in mind is that it's a centered UI. Previously, we had most of the input on the right side of the page, then you had a left side image that did that, and we've kind of moved more to a central style for the UI. This is still responsive, so in any case, if in any instance that there are elements that are too big for the amount of screen space that we have, it'll keep expanding vertically, and then at some point in time, a vertical scroll bar will come in. People typically use sign-in page descriptions as a way to kind of customize some of these pages. The second thing is that we've actually gone into a paginated flow design. Now, the reason why we did that is really as part of the primary authentication support that we talked about earlier. There are a bunch of use cases where we need to know if it is possible for the user to authenticate with a provider. So there's a mechanism in that extensibility capabilities that ADFS has to ask the provider, hey, is this user still valid for me to authenticate with you as the provider? So in case they haven't provisioned, there might be other options for the user to sign in with. So we can filter this out. And to do that, once we've done it, we ask you for your user ID and then supply it to the provider and then ask them, hey, is it good for us to continue with you? Because our policy says we can accept you. So that's why we kind of moved into a paginated sign-in model. And it's very similar to how we're thinking about it in our AAD level as well, because our sign-in experience, there's so many different credentials. There's policy governing this credential. So using a user ID, or sometimes in the case in ADFS, it might be evolve over to based on the apps as well. We decide what we need to go do and show you and what options that you can use to log in. So that's the paginated experience. Finally is that we have a lot of customers who customized the ADFS login pages tremendously. Either they've added additional JavaScript to control widgets in terms of doing that. All of that continue to still work. It's just we've updated our theming, which gives you the centered experience, and there is a new postback for the pagination to kind of happen, but the rest of the pages now. One additional improvement that we've made based on customizations that people done, which is not on the screen, is actually we've cleaned up a little bit of our code as well to make sure that each element has more a distinct div ID. So in the case where you're doing customizations, you can key off div IDs to know which page you are in and where you need to potentially make some changes in an onload JavaScript customization that you're doing there. So that's our sign-in experiences. I've kind of demoed this already because it's part of logging in, so I'm not going to go to a few additional things, and I want to kind of point out a couple of these. And the first one is that we've had a lot of feedback where customers are moving from one multi-factor authentication provider or second-factor authentication provider to another. Now, during that migration process, our initial guidance was, hey, what you do is that you enable both, and the user needs to know and pick the right thing. And most of you will probably say, hey, yeah, end users know they're going to get confused. It's going to be a help desk call for me. So how do I customize to say, if for these set of users, use this provider, and for another set of users, use another provider? So what we've done is, at least for the second factor form of authentication, we've added the ability that you can use the entire context through our rules mechanism to say, oh, if you follow part of this group, then use, let's say in this case, Azure MFA server. Or if you're on this part of the group, use RSA. The additional use case that kind of generates is that where in some cases people want to use certificate authentication especially, or smart cards especially for end users. So for admins specifically, for some of these apps. So this gives you the ability, a little additional customization to kind of improve the end user experience associated with which provider to choose is something that we've added. Excuse me. Additionally, I would say we did a poor job. We made a bunch of changes in 2016 to support our, we have a lot of EDU customers, and while we did aggregation federation support, we've discovered a bunch of issues, bugs with that. So we've done a lot of cleanup work based on the things that we've done, and kind of added, making sure that aggregated federations like InCommon will work much better with ADFS when you're importing them. And this includes really thinking about some perf-related fixes, as well as thinking about a few things around, there are certain places where we've seen errors in some of these documents. Our error handling was a little too strict, so we need to go fix some of these. The other things is that we discovered an issue with, remember my MFA when you configure that, for configuring that in Azure AD. Remember my MFA for X days? It kind of broke the system because there was like a constant infinite loop between ADFS and Azure AD. So as a result, we've kind of added support for that through an additional query parameter so that we can support that use case. Now moving on to my last section, which is really focused on ADFS supportability enhancements. Now, I think you've already seen a bit of this, but this is where we are really focusing, me and my team are focusing efforts to make sure that if you do have issues, that it is easy for you to go figure out what the issue is. The claims X-ray tool that I was demoing just to show the login sequence is one of them. And there are more of these, like helping you with your claim rules for your AAD, relying party trust. Not only that, this is also your one-stop shop to know we do a bunch of repositories in GitHub for customizations. There's a custom web theme that we have that kind of mirrors AAD, and this is what we expect to keep updated as well so that you can just apply it easily. There are more things within the GitHub repository around customizations. So this is the place where you will also discover a bunch of them under customizations. Just to do a walk around, it's evolved since the last time I probably showed it. Let's go back. Let me go to, so there's a bunch of things. There's a JOT decoder, there's an RPD claims, some JSON claim decoder so that you can put in an access token and get a prettier output, because these are all kind of useful snippets of tools for admins to kind of be able to kind of troubleshoot issues, or even for developers as they are debugging certain things as well. And as I mentioned, there is also offline tools where there's a whole range of of customizations in GitHub where you can go to the GitHub repository, including our ADFS Rapid Restore tool that we use for kind of backing up and restoring. So there's things about automated user interface testing as well, and ways for you to change service accounts. There's a few things in there. We also have troubleshooting guides where we give you a step-by-step walkthrough on what you need to do, and for each step in that framework, you pick an option, and then it's a different branch for how you to essentially handle some of your this. But today, I really wanted to focus on something that is new and appropriately marked, which is the diagnostic analyzer. Now, our recommendation, especially for our premium customers, is that Connect Health for ADFS gives you that ability where you're doing active monitoring, all right? There's a bunch of things that we test, and at the heart of that testing is actually a script that goes through a bunch of variations of tests and making sure that we check it. So for all our other customers, what we said was that, hey, can we provide something that makes it easy? And also for our support organization to be able to run these and get information about the system in a cool manner. And this is what this is, which is a diagnostic analyzer. Now, we've kind of made this as part of PowerShell Gallery, so you just have to import the module. You'll always get the latest version as you run it. And I've already completed that step. So I'm not going to do this step. So you just have to copy these commandlets and run it on your ADFS server. And then you go run an export diagnostic file, which will collect a bunch of information, run, and then run a set of kind of valid kind of capabilities, and put them all into a well-compacted JSON file. Now, I already have a version available that I've kind of run, but just to give you a So it's running a whole bunch of tests. Oops. No, it's not live, so. Let me hang on 1 second, because I turned off one machine. Let's run it against the machine. And it found an issue. But at the end of the day, it got a certain file, like I've been just running as part of my demos. Now, I already have a file available. I just pick it up and upload it. Now, what you get is that behind the scenes, based on all the data, we are running a series of tests and making sure what needs to run, what doesn't need to run, what's passed and what's not kind of failed. And you already see 4 tests have failed. Now, a good example here is the Office 365 Relying Party Trust failed. And it runs 3 things, kind of making sure that the ADFS service is running, the relying party exists, as well as the token signature, which needs to be SHA-2 and not SHA-1, as part of being compliant with a lot of new security requirements. So, and clearly it tells you that at that point, based on our examination, it is not satisfying this validation because it is currently marked for SHA-1 instead of SHA-256, which is token. So, and we keep adding a bunch of these additional tests, and there's so many that are also not applicable. You can always kind of go look at some of these if you're interested. And the cool thing is that if you don't provide the server name that I did not on a 2016 machine, ADFS 2016 knows what the other server nodes are. So it'll automatically get what the other nodes are and remotely attempt to connect and run all of these validations for you, collect the information. Simple, you just have to upload it, and then we give you a nice view. Now, the cool thing is we can keep updating tests and doing updating view on this available, and this is totally anonymous. We don't store any information. It's more a runtime processing, and we're done. We don't store any of the information out here. So this gives you a way to actually, so if there is any issue, the baseline that we would say is that run this first, all right, and make sure that it is clean before you kind of proceed to any type of other investigation. So that would be our guidance for doing this. So now, let me get back to my presentation. So the final thing is as we just did the demo, is that I briefly mentioned Connect Health. Now, Connect Health is our way to kind of provide an active monitoring system for your ADFS things. It's not just about operational monitoring. We are doing some level of security monitoring as part of this. Now, the ones that I highlighted out here are ones that I really wanted to talk about. There's a bunch of cool features associated with like application usage insights. Well, the two kind of capabilities that I want to bring a little more attention to today was the bad passwords report, which gives you the top users with failed number of password attempts. So when a user is being targeted, it will bubble up to the top. Sometimes bad service accounts, app service accounts that have expired passwords show up there, but we've seen a whole bunch of customers discover attacks based on that. These are targeted attacks. The second is the risky IP report, which really is about bubbling up any IP addresses that has a greater number of failed login requests than a defined threshold that is configurable. So you can say if any IP address has more than 50 failed login attempts per day, then please notify me via email so that this gives you a way for your security team to start looking into it. And if you determine an IP address is bad, I already talked about that banned IP list feature. You just go and plug it into your ADFS system. We've blocked in all auth requests from that system. Or you can write a fancy diagnostics pluggable framework module yourself to actually go do this and make it fully automated as well. So it is up to you. So it gives you the mechanism for you to determine and have quick visibility. I cannot emphasize or re-emphasize how many times in the last 12 months the first part of detection of an attack came from that report. Right? That's when people immediately noticed, they got that email and they said, oh, this address, and it's coming from this country where I don't have a business, and I don't want to point at countries, but there are certain standard patterns that we see of countries as well, all right? And this has, and so as a result, immediately they were like, why am I getting that many number of failed requests from this country? That becomes the first thing. And then they hand it off to the security team like, okay, they're looking through some of their SIEM tools to go do this and then determine this is bad and immediately shut it down with 2016. Now, at some level, this is a little bit of a whack-a-mole approach, but again, still a necessary thing that you have, which is getting visibility into what's happening from a security perspective in your system. So make sure, cool thing about it is, while this Connect Health requires Azure AD Premium, it is a slightly different way of how we do licensing. You just need 25 user licenses per ADFS server monitored, and that's it. So it doesn't need number of licenses across all your end users, so you just need it for 25 users. So even if you don't have premium, please do consider, and typically if you have 4 ADFS servers and 4 WAP servers, all right, and even that is a stretch based on the number of things that we've seen with our customers. So let's say 2 ADFS servers and 2 WAP servers, and that is pretty much 100 licenses. And that gives you just that, and the visibility that you get into some of these will have. And for those of you who are here asking questions later, we have a few P2 license, a 1-year trial P2 licenses as well available. So please swing by and ask a question, and then if we have any more left, we'll kind of hand them over. And so I really want to reiterate that this is super important. So make sure, because I've just seen way too many customers get hit in the last 12 months, all right? And so more and more, you think about moving away from passwords, or at least with all the options that we've provided, even with 2019, make sure password is not your first factor, all right? And then password can be your second factor. Second kind of interesting thing is that does mean for you Office 365 customers that you need to move to modern authentication for your mail protocols. All right, that is the #1 attack vector that we are seeing, and so you got to move away from standard, so which means on your, so you can either be on, use iOS native app, which is 11.4 or higher, which supports modern authentication for the native mail app, or you need to use the Outlook mobile app on your, on iOS and Android. And on Windows, you need to be on Outlook 2013 or higher for you to be able to support modern authentication. Getting there is critical for you to drive the right security strategy if you're thinking about exposing all of these resources from the extranet, because the number of attacks is just going up. So that's a key kind of perspective that I want you to leave with. And then the second is making sure that if you're building modern applications, then think about the new capabilities both in 2016 and 2018, move to a more modern stack for enabling some of these. Because over a period of time, even if you have to build locally on premises right now, and cloud may come a few years later, you have, our focus is to kind of build it in a standardized way so that it's easy for you to kind of make those transitions as well. So those are some of my, and the third I would probably key is that make sure you're bookmarking adfshelp.microsoft.com so that you, for any, if you are hitting issues, in some cases it kind of helps if you're a developer, in some cases if it's an admin, you have a mechanism for you to do, and there's a feedback button out there as well, so give us feedback because this is an area we're actively investing in, so our engineering teams would love to kind of get the feedback, hey, I missed this, or you know, we missed a use case that you were hitting. So thank you. If there's any questions, feel free to come over to the front one so that others can listen, and when they need to shut me off, then I'll swing by downstairs. So thank you, folks. Yes.
Hi. How long is the data stored for the bad password report, and are there regulatory requirements that we're going to have to consider for European business units?
Today, the bad password reports we keep for 30 days, but what we are working is two things. One of the things is to give you APIs if you need to do storage for a longer period of time so that you can use APIs to kind of do this longer storage. And then the second that we're doing is we're going to make our ADFS processed audits all available through how we think about standard Azure AD audits. So all the integration work that we've got with Azure Log Analytics, Azure Monitor, and so that you can run your own custom alerts, essentially is going to work. So that's something maybe in about 3 to 6 months, you'll see us make a few more announcements there. Thank you. Yes, let's take one from here.
So the diagnostic and analyzer, how far back does that support for ADF?
It's 2012 R2 or higher.
2012 R2 and
yes,
higher. Okay.
which is kind of really what our mainline support, even our extended support is.
Thank you.
I'll take that one there.
For the banned passwordless to work, do we have to enable password write back, or what?
No, you don't need to. The question was, for the banned password, Azure AD password protection that we had, do we need to make password write back? Do we need to use SSPR or password write back functionality in Azure AD? The answer is no. But you can use it additionally, that will, because you will have a better end user messaging in the SSPR portal compared to a Control-Alt-Delete screen, so we think that's a better experience for end users.
Yeah, but how that list gets back onto the on
there is a detailed documentation on it. There's a proxy agent. There's a bunch of things. We can. Where's Anand? Oh, he's not here. He had to head out. But
it works. Like no write back is required.
Nope.
Wow.
Okay. Yes.
In 2019, do we have any enhancement in terms of certificate authentication for mobile devices, especially when using OAuth?
Well, truly, for example, there are certificate authentication really works from an ADFS perspective. It's more the client-side libraries are not supported for certificate authentication directly against ADFS. We have customers who build iOS apps directly using the Safari WebView controller, and that works fine with certificate authentication because it opens up Safari, which has access to the system keychain, so as a result, that works fine.
But can we force certificate authentication for mobile devices only?
You can. There are ways to go do that.
On Node.js?
That's one mechanism. It depends on if you have the ability for the app to customize itself, then that's another mechanism. There's a service mechanism, there is a thing. Then there's also an enforcement mechanism where we can combine all this, say, hey, I don't allow you, customize the message, you need to have chosen this.
Where we do that, with any documentation?
I can chat with you. It's just standard methodology for how you think about it. There's no specific document that targets that scenario. Yes.
So my question is about I attended one session. They were saying move your apps to Azure AD. So do we think we will discontinue publishing ADFS new versions?
The question was about ADFS new versions. Yes. Our cloud strategy is about getting your apps to the cloud because there are certain ways in which you get some additional security benefits. But as I pointed out very early in this, we have a whole bunch of users that use ADFS for IDP, and there are other scenarios even outside of Azure AD. Think of a government scenario where it's an air-gapped network, all right? You still have to log into an application. You might be in a warship that is fully, you might be in a nuclear site that needs to be fully kind of protected. There's a bunch of these use cases where you need kind of local applications to work in a local network. And for that, we continue to see that it will. Now, at some point in time, way point in the future, we can have an Azure AD cache that works on premises, but that's at that point in time, I'm just going to wave my hands for now.
One more question, you told about 72 million hits you saw in Azure AD. So globally, what is the percentage of people using ADFS? There are many other providers out there like Okta.
Roughly, ADFS makes about 84 to 85% of all federated logins. That includes Oktas, the pings, the SiteMinders, and across all of that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, sorry.
Yes, good afternoon. So I have a kind of a question here, more of a comment. So my company, we actually use ADFS on premise. We also have Azure AD that we're utilizing for some federations.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get that seamless view for our end users. So we're encouraging them to use the My Apps page along with the actual plugin.
Yep.
My question is, or my comment is, has there been any consideration given to actually allowing that My Apps page to point back to some of the relying party trusts back on premise?
There is, yes. The question is, can I take an ADFS app and represent it in My Apps? There is a way for you to go do that.
There is a way.
Is it in our documentation as well, right?
There is? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been looking for that for quite some time, so maybe I'll
you can yes,
okay, that'll be great because we're trying to get everybody to go to that one.
No, that makes a lot of sense. This is exactly why we went and did that, so that you have a consistent experience.
Thank you.
Yes.
The ADF log analyzer, is that also going to work with an ADFS proxy server?
Which login analyzer, sorry?
The diagnostic one.
The diagnostics, see, at the end of the day, a lot of the intelligence is on the ADFS side. The proxy, we keep it as dumb as possible, which is really for two reasons. Two kind of its core reasons are, it terminates an HTTP request and re-enables one. So as a result, there's a lot of server-level proxy throttling capabilities, all of those kind of come into play in terms of concurrency and stuff like that. So that gives you one level of protection. The second that we do is that we make sure that some very simple malformed requests. The rest of the intelligence kind of we let ADFS handle to decide whether it goes in or out or drop or doing that. And so the risk assessment module that we have, the pluggable RAM, that one is more at the ADFS layer.
Okay.
Thanks.